Hello, in the video coming up, we'll be looking at the new Linux Steam app for the Chromebook. So if you go back a few years and think about gaming on a Chromebook, what you'd be thinking about is using Android apps or some online games. You couldn't truly play PC games on a Chromebook. That did change a couple of years ago with Stadia and NVIDIA GeForce Now. I use NVIDIA GeForce Now quite a lot and it's really good. But for the last couple of years, we've all been really interested in the Linux Steam app. Now you can already install Steam on a Chromebook with a DEB file, but because of the way that Chrome OS is set up and the security involved, it can make it quite difficult with some of the games to take full advantage of the hardware of your Chromebook. So that the Steam or Valve has been in development with Google for a long time now to get a Linux Steam app for the Chromebook. And it's finally been launched. The first thing I would say, it is in alpha mode. So what that means is you shouldn't expect it to work without any problems. You could have problems. And you've also got to use it in developer channel. And a few other things are that it's only available on some Chromebooks. So I'm going to show you what the games are like when you play on the Linux Steam Alpha app, and some of the problems I had and some of the good things that work fine. But before that, what I'm going to do, we will go through, in case you've got one of the Chromebooks, and I will go through the list of Chromebooks you need. In case you've got one of those Chromebooks, we go through what you actually need. Okay, so I went onto the Chromium website to get this information, and these are the people who develop Chrome OS basically. Okay, so the first thing we need to be aware of here, I will enlarge the screen so you can see it bigger. Okay, so first thing here, supported devices. So you need either the Acer Chromebook 514, Acer Chromebook 515, and take notice of these model numbers here, they will be important. The Acer Chromebook Spin 713, the Asus Chromebook Flip CX5, that's the one I'm using here today, the Asus Chromebook CX9, HP Pro C640 G2, and the Lenovo 5i14 Chromebook. So as you can see from that list, it isn't a massive list. And the reason for that is when you consider playing games locally, and this is the same if you had a Microsoft computer to play games locally, you would need a processor, and you would a really powerful processor, but you'd also need a graphics card. So this isn't taken into consideration at the moment. Chromebooks don't have dedicated graphics cards. You might have an onboard graphics card with a processor, but not a dedicated graphics card. That's why you can't expect too much. But all that being said, at the moment, these are the Chromebooks that you can use. So make sure that you've got the one that will work. For example, on this Asus Flip CX5 that I've got, if you've got the Intel i3 version, then it unfortunately won't work. You've got to have the Intel i5 version. So look into it in more detail if you need to. And here you can see that you need 8GB of RAM for this to work. Okay, it does say encounter issues in games that require 6GB or more, so 8GB of RAM. Okay, so that's the first thing that you need to look at. Then what you need to look at is, the first thing you need to do is to switch to the developer channel. Using a developer channel it essentially means that you need to accept that there may be some issues along the way, and you've just got to put up with that because it's not a stable channel. I use the developer channel quite a lot and it's okay. The only thing I would say is that you shouldn't really be working on a developer channel, because if it does go wrong and you lose your work on your browser or something, there's not much you can really do, unfortunately. It can just happen. So the first thing you need to do to switch is to switch to the developer channel. Now how you would do that, you would go down here, you would go to settings, you would go to advanced, and so I find it really hard when it's enlarged display. About Chrome OS, so go to About Chrome OS. If you haven't got it enlarged, it would obviously be on the side here. So you go to About Chrome OS, and as you can see here, I'm on version 101. It's the developer channel. If you wanted to change to the developer channel, you would just click on additional details, and you'd have here change channel. You'd most likely be on stable, just change it to developer. Takes about maybe 5 minutes to get the new channel, and then you need to upload it. The one thing I'd say is that it doesn't wipe any of your data, but I would back up your data before going into developer channel. And the reason why I say that is if you want to then come out of developer channel and go back into stable channel, it then does wipe all your data. So I would take your data whilst you're in stable channel before moving to developer channel, because once you go from developer to stable, delete all your data, delete all the users. So that's something you need to bear in mind as well. Okay, so that's the first thing you need to do. And then from there, you'd need to enable some flags. So you do that by just opening up a Chrome browser and you type in Chrome : / or / flags, hit return. And then you need to search for the hash, I could never pronounce this, Borealis -enabled. And you also need to search for the hash exo -pointer -lock. And you need to enable both of them. Once you've enabled both of them, it will then restart your computer, and that's fine. You don't need to log in, just restart it. Then from there, you need to open up a terminal by pressing Ctrl-Alt-T. So if I did Ctrl-Alt-T now, that's what the terminal looks like. So I'll just exit out of that. So you do that, and then once you've done that, you'd need to type in the following. Now you don't obviously type in the speech marks there, it's just what's contained within there. So it's insert _ space Voltaire hyphen capital J capital O lowercase LKTH 573 uppercase FBLG lowercase a, and you hit return. And then when you do that, you get in very basic graphics, because it's in the terminal, something that looks like an old arcade style machine, and it will say then that it's been successful. Then from there, that's it. Follow the setup flow to install Steam. Yeah, it will then the setup flow to install Steam. It took about, I think, maybe about 5 minutes to install Steam and set it all up. So it's fine. Obviously, to do this, you do need to also you need to have Linux set up on your Chromebook as well. So make sure you do that. So if you switch to the developer channel, I don't think they put that in here, but you would obviously have to do that. So yeah, switch to the developer channel. Make sure you change, then make sure you set up Linux, and you do that by going to settings, advanced, and you go to developers. And here, if you didn't have it on, it would have something like turn on, something like that. So you'd have to do that process as well. And I would do that process before straight after doing switch to developer channel. Or if you've already got Linux set up, obviously you don't need to do that process. All right, so that's all the part of actually how you do it. Then once you've done it, you will then get, let me just minimize this now again. You will then get Steam on your Chromebook. And as I says, it looks the same. You can use Steam with a DB file, but this is more secure. So it is better. Linux, and there it is, the icon Steam. Steam for Chromebook starting up. So it's just starting up. It's just asking me for my password. Maybe I need to do that. Log in. Log in. Okay. Right, so from here, as you can see, it looks like Steam just as it would do. Now, I've got my library of games here. Now, the one thing I would first say is if, for example, you clicked on Age of Empires 2 here, you can see that it's got install. Now, it's allowing me to install it. It's a Windows-based game. It's allowing me to install it because I've gone up here to settings and I've gone to Steam Play and I've put enable Steam Play for all other titles, and they recommend, I changed it to that, but I did that because something wasn't working, but they recommend to use Proton Experimental. When you do that, it then goes through another setup process. Okay, once you've done that, it then does give you the option to install Windows games. However, the 2 games I tried to play didn't work. So I tried to install Anno 1404 Venice, and I tried to install, which is a pretty old game, I tried to install Grand Theft Auto Vice City, both Windows games. They started to load so you could hear the music, the intro, but the screen was just blank. The good thing is at the moment, and Google's done it really well, is when you close the games, and even if there's a problem with the game and you're really struggling to get out of it, you think, oh, that survey is not going to come up, it's not going to cope with what's happened, you still get a survey report. And it's really important you complete that survey report, because it automatically pre-populates the game you was playing, and then you can explain what's happened. And it's really important to give Google that feedback, or Steam that feedback, because without giving them the feedback, they're not going to know what's wrong with the games. So the one thing, by all means try it, but as far as games that are specifically made for Windows at the moment, the 2 I tried did not work. But games where they are made for Linux, so for example here I installed Sid Meier's Civilization. Now Sid Meier's Civilization it is a really advanced game. In fact, there's so many instructions and processing happening once you get much further down in the game, but it's not necessarily crazy when it comes to the graphic side of things. But I think most Linux games, just for Linux, so not ones made for Windows, will possibly work, because Civilization works absolutely fine. So I've installed it. Now obviously when you install the game, it's like installing it on a Windows PC, so it needs an internet connection because it needs to download it, so it does take a while to download the game. And then I'll just play it so you can see it. There's no audio coming through. Right, the fact there's no audio, just ignore that. The audio does come on. I don't think I possibly set it up correctly to show audio, but the audio is fine and the visuals are fine. So I'll just load it so you can see. And I played it last night. I didn't play it too long because this is such an addictive game. You can end up being on it for weeks. So I was like, no, I cannot go down this route, because I've not played this game in quite a few years. But it played absolutely fine. I had no problems. And I put that on the feedback form that it played absolutely fine. So this game worked with no problems whatsoever. I can't remember how you load a game now. Maybe just single. Yeah, load game. Not sure what the audio is coming out. I assume it's because I've got it set up to record the video, and I don't think I've set the audio. So sorry about that. Can't do that at the moment, but it's fine. Yeah, the audio does work. And here, the screen, it looks small, but once it loads, it does go into 1080p. And as you can see, it's loaded the game. As I said, it's not crazy when it comes to graphics, but the graphics aren't too bad, and it works absolutely fine. Played it last night for a bit, had no problems whatsoever, did a few turns, and anyone who's played Civilization will know it can take a while, and it worked absolutely fine. I didn't try any other games for Linux because I don't have many. Most of the games I brought on Steam were actually Windows games. So if you've got Windows games on Steam at the moment, you could try them, but I don't necessarily think they'll work. Hopefully they will in the future. But any Steam games you've got which was developed for Linux as well, then I would suggest they would definitely work for you. Okay, so that's it for this video. It was just to show you that you do now have Linux Steam Alpha, how to set it up on your Chromebook, the type of Chromebook you need, and that Linux games look fine at the moment. Windows games, I think we might have to wait a little while longer. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please like and subscribe to the channel for future videos, and thanks for watching.